All right, we got another episode of Culinary Connections Distribution Dialogues where we bring reality to the distribution business. It's not all butterflies and rainbows, and we want to learn, the path that people have taken to get to where they're at and the nuances that come with distribution in different parts of the country or the world. Joining me today, I've got Ezio Bondi of Bondi Produce in Toronto. We're thrilled to have you. VP of Sales, is that right?
That's right.
Amazing. Well, quickly before I do like a little crash course in getting to know you a little bit, talk about your journey to where you are today, just kind of how you got to where you are.
Well, I think like most people in produce, you don't really start off intending to end up selling fruits and vegetables. But I'm a third generation Bondi. My grandfather started the business, immigrated to Canada in the '70s from Sicily, and started the company out of his garage. I think like many entrepreneurs, went door to door trying to just sell what he would buy off the terminal that day to his neighbors and community. He quickly started selling out of his station wagon to restaurants in the Danforth neighborhood of Toronto, which was at the time had a huge Italian immigrant population. Um, and then my dad took over the business in the '90s, kind of scaled it up from there. And then I started getting involved really at some of my earliest memories are going to the food terminal with my dad, 3, 4 years old. Really taught me the power of a firm grip handshake, looking someone in the eyes and addressing them with sir and just giving them respect. And I think I learned a lot of early business lessons walking the terminal with my dad, how to negotiate, how to bust someone's balls. All tools that I feel like have helped me throughout my career. But I really started working in the business in earnest when I graduated from university in 2010. Um, I didn't really want to join the family business. I really fought it as much as I could, but we were right in the middle of the global financial crisis of 2008. I wanted to work in advertising. I don't think there was a lot of budget to hire in the ad world in 2010. So I started working for the family business. My dad gave me a phone book, a phone, and he said, "Go nuts." And I really just started smiling and dialing, cold calling, and really just selling to restaurants that I like to eat at. I was a little bit of a foodie at the time. I still am. I love food. So I think my strategy was I'm just gonna call restaurants I like to eat at, try to get them on board as an account, and you know maybe when I go there and eat myself, I'll have a easier time getting a reservation, or they'll send me a free dessert. How about that? And flash forward 10 years later, I'm the VP of sales at Bondi Produce. I oversee our sales team. I'm also like our resident chief knowledge officer. I oversee all of our technology stack, if you want to call it that. I'm the resident nerd, and I wear a lot of other hats here in the business. Um, but that's kind of where I am right now.
That's amazing. For those of you that don't know or didn't ever use a phone book, those existed, and it was like a very thick book. And you used to want to be like A1 plumbing, so you could be the first thing that people relied upon. And now the transformation of how we prospect. And actually, I was talking to someone earlier when I started selling. In food service distribution, it was very much go get a paper menu and take the paper menu away with me so I could, highlight ingredients that were, in the restaurant so I could go back and make a proposal. I'd leverage magazines, the phone book. I would drive in neighborhoods and like just because Google Maps at that point or Yahoo Maps they weren't sophisticated. I mean, yeah,
Right.
they taught you how to get around places, but it's not where now I could like type somewhere in and then hit near me restaurants. And now you can geofence and AI, but
For
like
sure.
it was just like, oh, there's a new coffee shop, oh, and right next to that's this, okay, all right, I'm just going to go and cold call this strip here, right, and go knock on doors.
Well,
Interesting to
I
hear.
should say one thing though. He did give me a phone book, and after he turned around, I politely nudged it aside and was like, "We got Google,
We got a better
for
way.
that."
We got a
Yeah,
better
there's a
way.
better way, Dad. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of the evolution of the company and coming on board as a third generation family member. I think the first thing I started looking at was like, okay, what are the better ways to do this process, that process, and really just yeah, he gave me an awesome sandbox to play in and really improve the business.
Well, I think we're seeing that we're at a crossroads right now where there's a lot of food service distribution companies getting ready to transition from the older generation to the younger generation, and the ability to comprehend new technologies, right? If you're not practicing them, it's really hard to implement them or see the value. Or why would I invest this when it's got, we've done it this way and it's gotten us here, right? And
Right.
often I'll share, what got you here won't get you there. And
Right.
especially with technology rapidly evolving, this kind of leads into another question that I had involving, one of the initiatives you guys have for the business is paper reduction, and recently, you guys, invested in a new ERP. How has that kind of changed the way that you do business across the board?
I think paper reduction, besides just being, I feel like the socially, environmentally responsible thing to do, is pretty low hanging fruit in that regard. I think it's just made things less confusing. Paper gets lost, it gets coffee on it, it gets torn up. If you can really consolidate all your sources and touch points of information into some sort of platform or piece of software, it really allows for people to collaborate more effectively, get the job done more efficiently, and it just really makes the whole process of running your business a lot easier.
So pre ERP, what were you doing? What did you guys lean on for your systems?
I mean, we had an ERP, but I don't think it was like sophisticated or robust enough. We've always had an ERP since my dad kind of took over the business, but it wasn't really, yeah, it wasn't robust enough. There was still a lot of paper, printing invoices, printing pick tickets, receiving tickets. We were printing a lot of stuff to do our work. And then, we upgraded to an ERP system that I know you're familiar with called Produce Pro. And that really, yeah, that really changed the game for our business and the way we run it.
I think for those that may not have advanced systems in distribution, having a more sophisticated platform provides customer service tools to find real-time inventory for you to really understand. If you wanted to look back at your January movement on Roma tomatoes, in real time, where did they go? What were our margin percents? What were our dumps? It gives you a really granular level of, the health of your business. And even to the point of, I saw, most people wouldn't have noticed this, but you did the Instagram video of Mushroom Alley yesterday.
Yes,
And
yeah.
and in that, I noticed a license plate, which is, a tag that goes along with a lot. You buy a lot of mushrooms, and when you receive it, you put that into the system, and it gets a date associated with it, and that date is then associated with cost and cases, right? So you can track everything that happens within that. You can do blended cost based off of, whatever your formula is for that. But the more sophisticated you are, I mean, at the end of the day, data is so critical to our decision making in purchasing, in selling, in serving the customer, that there's so many people that are flying blind right now that have just relied on a piece of paper. And you know I couldn't encourage more. If you're one of those distributors out there that don't have it, it's worth the investment to really find a solid partner that can help guide you across all your business practices.
Totally.
So you talked about, you had did you get an advertising degree or did you just have interest in marketing?
I just had an interest in marketing. I actually have a business degree from Ryerson University here in Toronto. But my interest in advertising, I think I saw that movie, What Women Want, with Mel Gibson, as a young man, you know, and I love presenting. I love talking to people, and I love entertaining, presenting. It's all the same for me. So I really thought advertising was just, coming up with ideas and pitching them to people. I had a very um, low level understanding of what the job required at the time. And that excited me. I'm glad I didn't get into it though, because since then I've, talked to friends who have gone into advertising, and I'm like, yeah, it's you're just like Mel Gibson and What We Want. They're like, yeah, that's like 5% of the job. The rest is boring stuff that you wouldn't want to deal with. And they tell me their stories. But yeah,
Well, I'm a connoisseur of food distributor Instagram or social pages, and two that I really love following are yours and Baldor. Like y'all do
thanks.
things a bit differently. You've got currently a bit of an artistic series going with Luis Mora and Kyra Purdy. What inspired that? I mean, it's so different than what you know there's a lot of distributors that just say you're the youngest person in the room, you run our social media, or
Right.
it's just a sell sheet from a vendor and it's reposted and there's no authenticity, there's no brand voice, it's just boring. you know what inspired this campaign, and what's your take on social?
Well, first off, shout out Baldor. I think they're the real originators of like actually putting out good content for a distributor. And they've really inspired a lot of what we do here at Bondi. But that collaboration came about super organically. Kiara was an old friend of mine from university who I hadn't talked to in many years, and I reached out to her a few months back because we've been working on this other CPG project with our fresh cut division, these salad kits, and I've really been taking a crash course in just like building a brand and generating assets to put that brand out into the world. And I got a quote for a lifestyle photo shoot, which I had to learn what it was, and I fell out of my chair when I got that quote, and I particularly zeroed in on the prop styling line item, and I was like, damn, that is a pretty penny for props. And I knew she was a prop stylist, so I gave her a call and I was like, hey, is this like, am I getting taken for a
Legit?
ride here, or is
Yeah.
this, what I should be paying for this kind of work? And she's like, no, like that's legit. Like it takes, this amount of time to source all the props, then you got to transport them, and there's a lot of legwork that goes into it. And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then she was like, I got a friend, Lewis, who's a super, super talented photographer. If you check out his Instagram, he shot the likes of Kevin Durant, Drake, but he's only really worked with people. And she's like, he wants to get into product photography more. And him and I have been talking for a while about doing something together. And we think, what you're doing with Bondi's really cool. Maybe we could all do something together. And it's I was like, yeah, that'd be great. We've been working with photographers for a while, just trying different things, different photographers. And yeah, the three of us connected. Lewis had a pretty clear vision of the concept he wanted. He wanted to incorporate what Bondi sells and some of the, I guess, materials that are also found around the warehouse, plastic wrap, the tires of a truck you'll see in some of the pictures. He had a really cool perspective on it, and it sounded great to me. And we got together and we created these awesome images that I think really showcase
Yeah, they're
not
gorgeous.
only, yeah, not only what we sell really well, but like our vibe. And I think our vibe is really just trying to constantly push what it is and what it means to be a distributor. And I think that's so important in this space. At the end of the day, an apple's an apple, an orange is an orange. We're all selling the same stuff to a certain degree. So how do you stand out to restaurants, the customer? I think it's building a brand. I've learned is really about building the community and the story around the brand. That's so much. It's become very important. The way people interact with brands has changed. It's not just enough to just put your brand out there. You got to put the work in to actually like tell the story and almost build your own like universe,
Yeah, right.
The Bondi universe.
Yeah, so we had Brent Aaron of Brothers Produce out of Houston, and he mentioned the same thing. Look, at the end of the day, we sell man packing, we sell TNA, we sell Sunkit. You know, all the labels,
Mhm.
specific around produce are very similar. How do we differentiate? Is the story and the service, that the way we serve that customer. And I would encourage. Sales team when I was leading them is that, hey, look, we're kind of a Nordstrom of the culinary world, right? Like, we can put a different shoe. Depend. Are you going to a ball or are you going to run a marathon? Right? We can put you in a different shoe based on what activity you're going to do, and creating a lifestyle brand that speaks to the culinary world.
Yes,
That when you walk in there, you walk into Whole Food. The Whole Foods experience is so different than walking into a Kroger, right? Like,
for sure.
the whole experience is totally different. And I've gotten to know the team at Baldor over the course of years, and they're incredible, and their perspective on marketing is so different. And talking to Ben, he's like, oh, we've hired former fashion photographers because we wanted to have different perspective on the way that our food was treated as art. And if you look at any of their visual assets, it shows in that. And you know, talking about the cost, it's expensive. Photography is not cheap. And, often I remind people, like, back in the day, even 4 years ago, you could do one photo shoot a year and check the box. Now
Mhm.
you've got to have creative assets constantly flowing. And, are you making the investment to have in-house photography? Do you want to hire an agency? For those of you that don't know, photography for a one-day shoot, if you're using a professional, it could be 8, 10, 12 plus $1,000 for a one-day shoot. You think about social. Shell, the oil company, there's an executive vice president of TikTok. There's an executive vice president of LinkedIn for Asia. There's one for Europe. There's one for North America. So people today are treating social as a genuine department, or digital media as a department. And I'd encourage any of the, you can't just hire the youngest person and think that it's going to be an effective, right? And now you have to start thinking about hiring, do I hire a videographer and photographer full time now? Because now you got Instagram reels, you got stories, you have YouTube shorts, you have to you have to create attention for your product. And your product is how many times I deliver, and all the products that live within, and the personalities that chefs are like, wow, instead of you smiling and dialing, now you got people calling you, because they saw your Instagram post or story. Or, now a chef can forward them an Instagram story of yours, like, hey man, they've got morels in stock, call them, right? And you didn't even do anything.
Right, and Instagram specifically has become such an awesome lead generating channel for us over the years, um, to the point where people. I get calls to run a print ad in a trade publication, and I have to politely tell them like the ROI is just not there. My customers are all on Instagram, like chefs, restaurants are all there, and what we sell is lends itself so well to a visual medium like that it's just that's where I'm going to invest my dollars, and see that ROI and people reaching out. And some people reach out and they just want the specialty stuff, and I just tell my sales team, that's fine. Like that's the purpose of what we're doing, to just show people we have that little extra, that different thing, that new thing. We're telling that new story of that new producer that we just found. And if they come in and they just want to order that one case of pink radicchio, that's fine. Let's make it happen for them, because down the road they will come back for everything else, and they will engage with the brand more and more.
Well, and you can see in real time, right, like the impact of your reel or your story.
Right.
Open rates are generally low right now for your e-blast, right?
Mhm.
And I whether you're a chef or my mom is like, how many emails a day do you get to your Gmail, whether that's Home Depot or whoever, and you just delete, 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 delete. You're not even engaging with it. Where social, you're very active, and you may only watch 2 or 3 seconds of it, but on you can see view count. Your ability to say, "Hey, ramps just landed, and we've got them here, first come, first serve," and it's truly incredible to be like, "Wow, we just sold ramps," and like we literally just put them on Instagram. That was the only way that we informed people of them, and we sold. You're leveraging technology to go to market. How is conversion rate been for you on teaching people? Hey, we have a web and app platform. We really encourage you to use that. It was a challenge to me 10 years ago because we were maybe more unapologetically digital first, and it was really hard to get an old school country club chef that's like, you got to come take my order at 2 p.m. or you're never getting it, right? And now it's transitioned to like, hey, I know how to use it. Don't see me. I'll call or text you if I need something.
Yeah, conversion rate's been great for us, but like you said, 10 years ago was obviously very different. We took orders by fax, phone. When I came into the business, I was like, okay, let's try email, order desk email. We eventually launched an app and a web platform. Today, 70% of our orders come in either through some electronic means, whether that's EDI, our app, web, or email, which is huge for us. I think we maybe take 30 phone orders a night. There's still the holdouts, the old school guys who want to call it in. Um, but to your point, we've become unapologetically digital first. When we onboard a new customer now, we just don't even give them the option to call in their orders. It's they get onboarded, they get a username, a password, we have one of our customer service reps reach out to them, do a live demo of our systems, our ordering platform, and away we go. And you don't get a lot of pushback. I'm just
Yeah.
really glad no one's faxing their orders in anymore.
We had made an acquisition 2 years ago of a seafood company, and I remember when we onboarded, it was a 40-year-old seafood company, and the sales team said, "Hey, where can we plug our fax machines in?" And I said, "You could put them in the trash. We don't we don't use fax machines here." And so there's a lot of archaic ways of doing things, and look, there's a lot of old school things that still work. I mean, the power of a handshake and a visit. Nothing beats an in person tasting or chef visit. Like that's hard to replicate, but you can't. Those are hard now. Like those, you're not guaranteed those all the time, and so you need to be leveraging your digital ways of communicating product to people. You know. It's expensive to hire a salesperson. It takes time and training, right? And so if you are working off a budget, having a tool that helps you sell, helps you communicate. And the on the social media side, it's absolutely free. The cost is you putting yourself out there and literally walking the warehouse and just saying, "I got this, and it's cool. It's fresh. It just came in." And then the next day you story tell another thing, and the next day you story tell another thing, and your vulnerability. And honestly, I think we're seeing a trend now where people want to follow. The CEO or the exec of a company rather than the brand itself because they want to see and connect with the leaders of the organization. And you've got the ability to storytell it. Hell, even the salespeople, like you have the ability to reach your customer base differently because of social media. And I encourage the sales team, hey, go walk the warehouse, take pictures, post it, engage, like, comment, like chefs are going to see that, the restaurant's going to see that. That's a difference maker to them. So it's super important to be leveraging those assets. For those that don't know about Bondi, uh, tell us a little bit about your business, the service area, what you guys serve.
Service area is well, I mean, we primarily service food service establishments, and we run the whole gamut: large stadiums, jails, all the way down to your small mom and pop breakfast joints, greasy spoons. Service radius, we got 55 or so trucks on the road. We're based just out of downtown Toronto, so pretty conveniently located. And my kilometers to miles conversion is not good, but I will tell you, we drive 4 hours in any direction. So we cover a good chunk of the province. And for my American listeners out there, province is like a state, and we are in the province of Ontario here in Canada. So yeah, we got some pretty good coverage, and I would say, we're one of the bigger players in the space in the province for sure.
And how has your product mix evolved from when you really got into the business to today?
The evolution of the catalog really kicked into gear during COVID. I think, like many businesses, we had to pivot, do a little bit of home delivery to keep the lights on, which was like, again, entrepreneurial, scrappy crash course in merchandising 101. Okay, where am I going to get liquid dairy from? Let's go call. Let's figure out the lay of the land. Who are the big players in liquid dairy in our market? Building relationships with them. So we launched a liquid dairy line. Then the beauty of the app and having customers online is, you just list it on the app, and then it starts gaining traction with your food service customers. We roll that out. Then we started dabbling in some soft cheeses. We got some great local soft cheese producers here that do, ricottas, mascarpones, burrata cheeses. Again, sell it to home delivery, let that be the volume mover, and then we'll offer it to food service. As COVID, we came out of it. Home delivery kind of petered off, became more of a distraction than anything. We shuttered that, and then we saw that, hey, like we're selling 500 liters of 2% milk a week. Let's keep rolling with it. And what that's evolved into now is, I'd say, I can give you a percentage, but maybe 20% of our catalog is now dairy, grocery, specialty items, and I think we continue to really just try stuff out, see what works. We got like a room, and it's like Survivor for non-produce commodities. If you're not working out, you're going to get voted off, and we're going to cycle something new in, and we've been able to curate a really thoughtful catalog of specialty items that our chefs, first and foremost, have asked for, or like it's something that's proven to work with them. We really don't want to compete necessarily with your broadliners out there and start selling packaging and Heinz ketchup and stuff like that. I'll leave that to the broadliner. I want to sell cool stuff that I enjoy eating, and that my customers will too.
I love that analogy of Survivor. It very much is, as you incubate brands, there's so many cool things that come to the table, and whether it's warranted, your top restaurant said, "Hey, it would make my life a lot easier if you carried X, Y, or Z," or are you innovative company bringing cool ideas to the chef? Now, to your point, like if it's not moving, it's got to go, right? And so how if you're a brand in food service distribution, how can they help a distributor move product? What's the value a brand can bring to your organization, right, to not get voted off the island?
I think first and foremost, it's sales support. My guys, first and foremost, their objective is to sell produce. That's what they know how to do. That's where we start, especially since we're very new into this non-produce journey, let's call it. So when I'm talking to brands, it's like, are you going to come in? Are you going to do a demo? Are you going to educate my team? Are you going to invest time to come in and do ride-alongs with my sales team and really go and help them sell the product? I mean, they'll tee up the meetings for you, but we need that support to kind of close the deal and get that critical mass. So I think sales support is like paramount when we're looking at new brands. And it's got to, and I think that sales support also shows me that the brand's willing to invest in their relationships, and it's not so much one-sided. I've also been approached by brands who are like, hey, like, we just see that you have 55 trucks, we see a distribution network, we want to like get our stuff into your warehouse, and then you guys figure it out. And like that, in my experience, it's not going to move product. It's not really creating a compelling enough reason for us to push that product, because we don't know how to sell your product. better than you do.
Well, not to mention, I work very closely with brands and food service. I have to remind them, the distributor has a lot of distractions going on, right? And that's whether it's at the procurement level or you're at the salesperson level. You've got, I don't know how many SKUs you have, but
We got like over 1,000 fresh SKUs listed at any time.
okay, so 1,000 SKUs, right?
Mm.
Meanwhile, that salesperson has a list of 50 to 100 to 150 customers that they're responsible for. They're getting a call from chef, and often it's, "Where's my truck?" "Hey, something happened. I forgot. Hey, do you have a price on this?" And so when you think about the amount of distractions a salesperson's hit, oh, by the way, my sales manager is expecting me to open up 4 new accounts this month, or I need to go collect, or, it's not the intention of the distributor to like not necessarily pay attention to you. Is they don't have the time to really sit there and granularly every week think about, selling whatever the thing, Ian's favorite cupcake. It's just that's the reality. So if you as a brand can bring boots on the ground, sales support, and also bring, "Hey, Bondi, by the way, I've got this great account. They use 50 cases a week. We're going to hand this over to you." Oh, okay. Now we got some velocity here, right? Now you're seen as an asset. You're,
Mm.
providing content for social media. You're coming by the warehouse with donuts for the crew, right? Like build an authentic relationship with leadership, with the sales team, with procurement. Like give them a reason to care about you, and it will go a long way.
Couldn't agree more, especially that big account point is also crucial too. I mean, if you're a brand coming to the table with something, a tangible sales opportunity, yeah, you got my attention. I'm listening.
Well, you guys made the invest. Well, you made several investments, but one of them recently is expanding your distribution warehouse.
Yeah.
How's that allowed you to grow and just to kind of fit in the mix?
I you know, we added an extra 40,000 square feet to our existing 40,000 square foot facility in 2022. So as construction began during the thick of COVID, and we kind of had to have a come to Jesus moment and look at ourselves as the senior leadership team and be like, are we sure we want to do this? And we push forward because we believe that you know we were still going to keep growing, COVID or no COVID. That being said, the expansion has helped us tremendously to scale our business even larger. We have more dock doors, a lot more space to breathe. People aren't tripping over each other. When we designed our new facility, we designed it with more of a food service distribution mindset from an ops perspective. And what I mean by that is we asked, the engineers working on the project, we're like, we need to maximize the number of pick faces in this new build out because we know we're going to be carrying more and more stuff and we need homes for that stuff. Our previous facility was more geared towards pallet in, pallet out kind of wholesale sales, which is part of our business and was a greater part of our business, 5, 6 years ago when we moved into this building. So yeah, it's helped us scale. It's given us a great, I think, the biggest footprint in our space here in Ontario, and I'll tell you, when you got a new facility that shows well, it's awesome giving people tours now. I think it's become a huge sales tool for us. It's if a potential customer is deciding between us and a competitor, we're really encouraging tours. Not because, and that's not to knock some of my competitors out there, but we do feel like we have a state of the art, best in class facility and we're proud to show it off. So, the part of the sales process is now come for a tour, bring chef, bring everyone. Like we'll bring you through. We're in the process of renovating our offices now. And we're adding in a test kitchen to really just make the warehouse tour more of an experience that we can add into the sales cycle, if you will.
Yeah, it's such an important tool. Once you get people into the building, one, it helps give people perspective of scale. Can you handle, I'm a big account. Can you handle my volume, right? So it
Right.
paints a picture for them. It creates loyalty and brings a face to the name of your customer service, your senior leadership team. But regardless of if you have a web app platform, um, you know, the chefs or the food service operators, it's like a kid in a candy store. Whenever you walk in, you're like, oh my, I had no idea. You have this, you have that, you have this.
Right.
And the value of, more than likely, that chef and their culinary team are going to be whipping their phone out and they're going to be taking pictures. And what are they going to do? They're going to share that picture on social media. So now you've got content that's being shared uh, with you and to their audience that you get to repost. So your reach becomes a heck of a lot better. And, thinking about, if you're going to be hosting tours, now you can potentially, if you've got cooler wall space, you can brand, whether it's your logo or Sunkist or whoever, and you can say, hey, brand, for 500, we'll put you here, or whatever the cost is. We do 600 tours per year on average.
Hmm.
There's a value associated with, oh, by the way, why don't you stock our um, kitchen with oranges or a juicer or whatever it is,
Yeah.
because every time we give them a fresh squeezed orange juice or what have you. So tours are, I think, a vital part of your marketing plan as you reinvest in the facility. And I touch on, thinking about you had mentioned about when we invested in the new facility, we wanted to make sure that it was efficient, that we had enough pick spaces for it, right? A lot of people in distribution, especially independent distributors, they may not use racking systems. They may not even have pick pass, right? They just
Hmm.
may have, well, Ian knows where this product is because he's worked here for 20 years and we don't have any type of a bin location. For produce, you've got to have, if you think about onions, how many slots you have to have just for red onion, right? It's like
Right.
4 pallet spaces. Then you have yellow onions. When you're expanding, one of the easiest ways is the gourmet category, because now what was traditionally looked at as a slot, you can put a divider, and now that could be 8 different pick locations for an olive oil or a soy sauce or what have you. So the perspective on total slot space needed completely changes. And I know more people are looking to diversify, so that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, you can
Uh,
really generate more revenue per like square foot with some of these gourmet SKUs. We sell some, truffle infused products that you could fit 10 cases in on a small shelf, and each of those cases is $200. It adds up quick and can really add to your drop size, to your point.
Well, yeah, a case of Romas is significantly different than a case of, insert some small, this little box of, whatever the trinket is, right? This
Yeah,
could be a $150 trinket, and a
right,
Roma case is significantly less.
right.
So, you want to be able to spread your cost. Additionally, with enhanced space, new space, you get a chance to recruit people. It's a selling point as an employee to work in a great environment. Recently, the Global Mail listed you as one of the best managed enterprise companies in Canada. You and your leadership team work hard to kind of cultivate not kind of, you work very hard to cultivate an environment of, uh, professional development, and, talk a bit about the employee experience that you guys have.
I think it all stems family business first and foremost. That's woven into the fabric of the DNA of the business. When you're an employee of Bondi, we really treat you like one of our own, like our family. So it's a huge part of our culture. The familial aspect. I think building a culture is something I think about every day. I read a ton of books and articles on it, and it's something that I've slowly realized. You're like it's a moving target. Like you're never gonna like be done building the culture. So it's been a journey for us for sure. But yeah, I would say the main tenets of like building that good culture are like treat everyone with respect, treat them like a family. Do what am I looking to say? What you what you say the company is, you also need to follow up with action as like a leadership team. And then I also think it's about the people. You need to like have good people in the organization. And I think as a leader in this in business, in food distribution, wherever, um, being able to like um, have a good judge of character, I guess, and like really like being like a good talent scout and being able to recruit people into your organization who are good fits with everyone else is like such an awesome superpower to possess, and something I feel like everyone should continue to hone and hone and hone. I I've probably hired most of our front office, and that's like 30 people. I've interviewed them all, from the customer service team to our VP level staff. I've sat in on interviews because I believe it's just so important to have good people and to make sure that the vibes are right in the office. Like you really, everything nowadays is so much about the vibes, and I think that's really the secret ingredient. Just like hire really good people who do good work and aren't assholes. We have a strict no asshole policy at Bondi. If you're an asshole, you're out. Um, so if you do that right, I think it feeds into everything else that comes into building a culture. Like, yeah, we recognize birthdays and we do all these little ancillary things that I think people think about when they think about like a good company culture, staff events, staff lunches, stuff like that. But it's really just like people working and getting along and collaborating and creating an environment where that could thrive is like the key, and I think is our secret sauce in building a great culture.
That's awesome. Yeah. And it's amazing what you can do, little things you can do to your building that creates an amenity, say
Yeah,
offering cold brew or offering little snack, like these little things that mean a hell of a lot to your team members, right? If you have a cooler next to the door, your dispatch door for your drivers that has bottled water and some granola bars, or
yeah.
all those little things make a huge difference in recruiting and maintaining the talent that you have in place. I know we're getting close to running up on time, but as a senior executive in the organization, you know, often we're left mentoring people, right? We're encouraging, we're trying to build people up. Who encourages you? Who inspires you? What do you read? What do you do to stay sharp?
I listen to a ton of podcasts right now. Big fan of Rick Rubin's podcast. I think it's called Tetragrammaton. I think he's an awesome creative mind who's got such a unique perspective on so many things. And he does like these long form interviews, which I really love as a way to just like educate myself and give myself knowledge. My dad is still a huge mentor to me. He's a great gut check kind of guy. He's kind of seen it all. And then I have other people I've met along the way in the industry that I can call anytime, bounce ideas off of. I'm also very fortunate to work with my family. My two younger brothers are in the business. My best friend since grade 7 is our VP of procurement. So we got like a great team here that's really tight, and I think the biggest benefit of that is you never feel like you're scaling the mountain alone, and no problem ever seems insurmountable when you're doing it with a team that's like motivated and engaged. Oftentimes I feel like I'm up against the wall and like, okay, this is it. Like I'm done. I don't think I'm going to come back from this. And then you tell that to Matt, my best friend, or my brothers, and they're like, "No, don't worry. Like, here's the way out of that. We're gonna keep pushing forward," and that always puts wind back in my sails for sure.
What parting words do you have for someone that's aspiring to grow their career in food service, right? You're wanting to excel. What makes a great team member? What's going to get you noticed by your leaders?
Um, be a curious thinker. Ask a lot of good questions. Don't stop learning. Like, and really, like yeah, just be hungry for knowledge. And on a practical level, so I forget where I got this advice from, but I think it's really served me well. Answer your emails. Just answer them fast, fast. Like, don't, if you're good at that, I think that's like one simple thing you can do that will really set you apart from the vast majority of people. Um, yeah.
Yeah. I would yes, we live off of email. One thing I would encourage my team to do, you cannot read tone in email. So
Right.
always do your best. Doesn't matter what, if you're in a rush, a greeting, an action item, thank the person, and a follow up, right? That goes a long way rather than just responding, what the hell's going on here? Hey, we had a mistake here. I'm curious what the time frame is that we could get this done. I'd appreciate your support
Mhm.
or your help in getting this question answered. If we can have an answer by end of day, that'd be super helpful.
Mhm.
Thanks for your support, whatever. But that framework is so different than just like this short two sentence that you are, hustling to. Like it completely changes the way that you're receiving that email, and you're so much more likely to get help from the person receiving it. And also on weekends, we all get time that maybe you have a cup of coffee or even evenings, think about the response. Like it could set somebody else off that's on the receiving end that's at 7 p.m. and their phone vibrates and it's like, hey, I had some free time. Please don't respond this until tomorrow, just so you know. Now it's like, oh, okay, back into the pocket. And so email etiquette, I think, is something we all could work
Huge.
on. And your leaders will notice that. And not only will your leaders notice that, if you deliver that message, then the procurement and then the next person, and now all of a sudden you're starting to impact the way your culture sets the tone for how email is delivered.
It's a full circle thing, and I even tell my team, even if you're responding to chef on it, or I'll get back to you. Um, if you can just do that in a timely manner, it just shows them that you care and you're on the ball. I think, yeah, that's just simple stuff, man.
Well, it's been a good conversation. Ezio Bondi of Bondi Produce in Toronto. We're so grateful to have you. Give them a follow on Instagram. They do some awesome stuff. They might inspire you to kind of have a different perspective on social. And look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks for having me in.
You got it.